Hello YouTube, this is Froogle and welcome to another Froogle vlog. It's going to do this a little bit live streamy like because it's going to be a little bit dull maybe for some of you, I don't know, but I wanted to get more content out. I'm not doing too well on the content. But anyway, a lot of you have been asking for fully loaded, so I got to start planning the fully loaded thing. So I'm going to fly to 747-400, obviously not today, but I just wanted to walk you through how I do that, how I get ready to do a fully loaded. So I'm at FlightAware. And one of the cool things you can do at FlightAware is you can go live flight tracking by by aircraft type here. And it shows you this list. So you can go all the way down, all these different aircraft and see them. So I want to fly the 747-400. I'm going to click on 747-400. There it is. And I don't really want to do 20-hour flights. You know, they don't film very well, to be honest, and the editing involved is immense. You've got to go through hours and hours of nothing to try to find where you actually say something. There are ways of doing that very quickly, but I find it incredibly dull. So I'm going to try to find something fairly reasonable. Now, the PMDG 747-400 does have that neat feature from the 777 where you can accelerate time automatically. So I could do like 5 hours, 6 hours, maybe accelerate that. We'll see. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. That's why I'm here. So on FlightAware, having chosen your aircraft type, if you click on the estimated time en route on the right hand side, you can sort the flights that it found by the length of time that the route actually takes to fly. So it's sorted now in descending order, and you can see San Francisco to Sydney, 14 crazy hours. No. Let's do it the other way around. Hang on, I think I got a, how do I do this? How do I invert that? I think I click the arrow, there you go, click the little arrow symbol and it inverts it. And you can see, in the real world, the 747-400 is actually used for relatively short flights. So there's a near Gamble, Alaska to Anchorage, Alaska. Is that actually a place, near Gamble? Is that actually a real place? But anyway, there's an Alaska flight right there for 1 hour, 20 minutes. What else do we have? Frankfurt to wherever the heck this is, Moscow. Now that would be interesting because I've never done Moscow, never done Russia, and Russia has, you know, not having ever done it, I could be completely wrong here, but I understand there's some variation there in Russia between metric and imperial on barometric pressures and stuff like that. So you need to switch between the two. I'm not entirely sure the rules on all that one, but that's very, very interesting indeed. Anchorage International to O'Hare, that would be interesting. Haven't done many American flights. I was actually, by the way, I did actually have a flight planned. I was going to go and do London Gatwick to Geneva, but I thought about it. It's like that's kind of an old fan favorite of Frugle's. And I do that flight a great deal with new aircraft. When it tends to be the first fully loaded I do, tends to be London Gatwick to Geneva or Zurich or something like that. It's like, let's not do that. Let's do something a little bit different. France, Charles de Gaulle to Ben Gurion International in Tel Aviv. 4 hours. That's not too shabby. What else do we have here? Incheon International. I'm not too hot on doing the Asian stuff either because I don't have a whole lot of scenery for Asia. I don't really want to go and spend $100, $200 on scenery just for one video. And then, you see, this is what I did. I spent lots of money on European airports, and I keep flying those European airports, and people are like, oh, you're doing Geneva again? Why are you doing Geneva again? Because I have really cool scenery for Geneva, and I have really cool scenery for Gatwick. And it's important on the YouTube videos to do something that looks relatively nice. None of these leap out to me as appealing. Frankfurt appeals because there is that Frankfurt airport scenery that just got released. I can't remember the name of it. I don't have that, but I would be willing to buy that. There I am again, buying more European scenery. I really need to start doing America. What is this? Hunter AAF. Savannah, Georgia. Now, obviously, don't have scenery for Savannah, Georgia. But I know there are various San Francisco Internationals. That's a 4-hour flight. That's tempting. So far, this one's tempting. So what we'll do is we'll right-click United Airlines Flight 2580. We'll open that in a new tab and save that one because that could be a possibility for the next upcoming fully loaded. What else do we have? Anchorage to Chicago. Now, I've got Anchorage. I've got Orbex, Alaska, but Anchorage, I don't know. I had problems doing Anchorage before, so I'm hesitant to do Anchorage because I know the scenery that I have for it is kind of somewhat broke. Yeah. So that also blows out this top one, which is just an hour and 20 minutes long. That's no good. Okay, let's continue on down. Let's see. See, now we're getting into 5 hours 50 minutes, and even with time acceleration, it's like, and I don't. This is the thing with me. I'm a little bit. What's the word? I don't want to use the A word. It's got bad connotations, but I'm a little bit obsessive compulsive, I guess is the right word, with these flights. And when I record them, when I do a fully loaded, I tend to fly the entire route. So I don't like doing time acceleration. Although I can, I don't like it. It feels like a cheat. I tend to do the whole route. This is why it takes me so long, by the way. If it's a 3-hour flight, then you got an hour of setup of the aircraft, prior to flying, and an hour setting up the simulation. So now we're up to 5 hours. And if I get it wrong, I'll do the whole thing again. I tend to record these fully loadeds all in one take. There's a lot of cuts and edits in them to make it somewhat interesting to watch, but they are typically recorded in a single take. And if I get stuff wrong, I'll redo it and try to not break it. There are cross-Atlantic here, and I am going to be doing, I've had notes for about 2 years. I've got a list of notes. I can't show you actually, but I got a list of notes of these are videos that I need to record, and it's about this long. It's insane. That's on a computer screen. And I've got in there, must record how to do transatlantic and how to properly set up the transatlantic stuff, and also the diversions mid-route and all that kind of stuff. So I will at some point do something like London Heathrow to John F. Kennedy. That would be a fun flight, and I would use time acceleration for that, because the point of the video would be to show you how to do the transatlantic stuff, crossing the ocean. Anchorage to Hartsfield, Atlanta, that appeals. I've got good Atlanta scenery, but again, it's a 6-hour flight. So I think so far we're stuck on this. San Francisco to Savannah, Georgia. That's an interesting flight. Don't have great scenery for the end of the flight. I could even maybe divert and do San Francisco to Atlanta, because I do have good Atlanta. And, looking at this map here, for those of you not familiar with the Americas, if that's Savannah, Georgia, Atlanta's about there. By the way, I'm about there. That's where I live. But Atlanta's about there. So it's about the same flight. So it's kind of taking some liberties a little bit, but it's for a video. It's not real. And this is how things go in terms of planning these fully loaded flights. So San Francisco would need to go get scenery for it. There is great scenery out there for that. I can go do that. All the way out to KATL. That sounds like a lot of fun. Now, this is a United Airlines flight, so I need now to fire up the simulator and find out. This is where it gets a little bit obsessive compulsive. I will do the flight plan in PFPX, but I don't think I have a United Airlines 747 in here. I don't. I have a PMDG one, and that's it. So I need to go and find out the appropriate numbers, basically, for the United Airlines aircraft and the engine type and all that stuff. So we'll go ahead and do all that right now. Probably cut the video here until we get into prepared, and join you again in 1 second. Alright, so we're in prepared, and I'm going through the list of aircraft that I have here. I don't actually have United Airlines aircraft, so next thing is to go and install the aircraft. So I have Atlas Air, Polar Air Cargo, tons of British Airways, because they're my favourite airline. Not just the world's favourite, but the Froogle favourite too. So let's get rid of prepared, and I'll show you what is involved in adding aircraft. I know many of you know how to do this, but I still see a ton of comments from people going, So I'll show you how to do it. Fire up the PMDG Operations Center, which for me is probably going to update. Let's see what it does. Nope, it's not going to update, because I did use it this week. We'll go into the 747 version 3 for prepared at the top there. Notice I don't have a lot of aircraft installed. Important pro tip. I found way back in the midst of time with FSX that to maintain performance, one of the good tricks to do is actually to keep the list of aircraft you have installed very small, especially if they're complex aircraft that load in a lot of DLLs. So at any one time, my sim actually doesn't have that many aircraft installed. Typically 3, maybe 4, which are the ones that I'm currently looking at. Anyway, 747-400, let's scroll down here. I've got updates actually here, so we'll fire off those updates. By the way, in Operations Manager, go to the list of aircraft, choose the aircraft and the sim, and then click on Livery Downloader, and then you can browse all of PMDG's beautiful liveries. And the liveries that they provide are actually stunningly beautiful. It's really cool. Now, this little icon the little notepad icon with a pen means delivery has fully accurate and verified airline options configurations included, which is exactly what we want if we're going to do things somewhat realistically. So I'm going to choose this one, November 175 United Airlines, or 175 Uniform Alpha from 2000. Well, actually, no, let's not. Let's choose the modern one, November 127 UA. It's a 2017 aircraft. We'll download that one. Downloading. Installed. So now you can finish the Operations Center, run up your sim, as many of you know. That was insanely loud. As many of you know, I tend to use SimStarter NG to do all this stuff. And once the sim fires up, we should be able to find that the aircraft that we want to use. Now, obviously, SimStarter is waiting for me to OK to continue because I use NVIDIA Inspector as well to keep my performance up. There's the Ablesoft EFB. It's a long time since I've done a fully loaded video, but many of you will be aware that fully loaded is typically used two computers. That's the Ablesoft EFB server software that runs on this computer. On the other computer over here is where we run the client, which shows progress along the route. And I know there are other alternatives. That's just my favorite. So now, change the aircraft. And scroll down. PMDG. There it is. United Airlines, November 127 Uniform Alpha. And we can see a whole bunch of very, very useful stuff here. Predominantly, that this is powered by Pratt & Whitney 4056 engines. November 127 Uniform Alpha, we're going to need that as well. So I'm going to make a note of all these things so I don't forget. All right, so making notes. Many of you also are aware I used to use an iPad a lot. Now I don't. Now I use a Microsoft Surface. This is a Surface Pro 4 and I love it to bits because it can also run sim software. So I can run my flight planning tools. I can run Navigraph charts on this. I can print a PDF on this. I can annotate PDFs and I can do anything I want. I can browse the web and I know I can do all that stuff on the iPad as well. I just prefer the Surface. I have an iPad Pro with a pen. It's about to go on sale, because I just don't use it anymore. I did use it for the longest time and did not use my Surface Pro, but I decided I would try to spend more time with the Surface Pro, and yeah, absolutely loving it. So I fired up OneNote here. I'm just making a note, KSFO to KAT, I can't spell ATL. It's Sunday morning. KATL, here we are, and I'm flying United Airlines, so November 127 Uniform Alpha, and that would be Pratt & Whitney 4056 engines. That's all we need right there. So having done that, we can quit out of aircraft selection. The next thing I need to do is choose a date. Now, as I said, I tend to record the flights in one take. And so I need to be able to repeat them, because if I get things wrong, then I have a problem. So before we quit out of this, let's pop on over to, so much software is running right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. But somewhere around here, there is an active sky. Here it is. And it's currently set in weather mode is real time, live and real time. I'm going to change that. And I'm going to set the weather to be, switch to historical weather. Let's make, now, it is 8 hours difference between San Francisco and UTC-ish, give or take. It doesn't really matter too much. For the interest of repeatability, though, we want 8 hours difference. So if I was to take off at, let's say, 8 a.m. in the morning, add 8 to that, so that's 16. You can already see we've got 16 here. So we're putting in 1600 there, and we will set the date to be Friday. Friday, March 24th. At 1600 UTC. That's important. I'm going to make a note of that as well. So March 24th, 324 at 1600 UTC, which is 8 a.m. local. 8 a.m. local. The reason we do all that is, well, you will see actually. I don't know if that downloaded the weather when I did that. I think it did. Let me change the date here and make sure it's downloading. You downloading weather? Yes, it does download when I change that. Great. So I'm going to set this back. Friday, 1600 UTC. We'll go back to home. There, downloading. So it's downloading the weather file. The reason I do that is in PFPX here, you'll notice I'm using Active Skies the weather. So now PFPX is going to have accurate weather for my flight planning, which is great. So I can go up now. I'm running this at 4K, so hopefully this is readable when I rescale it. But even so, we're going to add a brand new aircraft in here. You going to work? Okay, so the registration, I always get confused between the registration and the tail number and tend to put them both in as exactly the same. N127UA, N127UA. This is not an Airbus, which, by the way, I probably need to spend a lot more time in. 747-400. The engines are Pratt & Whitney 4056s. Ha ha ha. Now the weights, they are not kilograms. We're flying in America, so it's going to be pounds. So lengths are going to be in feet and altitude are going to be in feet. So that is all fabulous and lovely. I actually don't understand most of this stuff. We're not doing an ETOPS flight. So save aircraft. There it is, November 127 Uniform Alpha. So having got that in, now I can go ahead and do my plan. I'm not going to add a plan to the schedule. PFPX lets you schedule flights, recurring flights. I don't tend to do that. I'm just going to create a brand new flight here. So the flight number, these are the airlines in here, by the way. So if I put in UA, there's UAL. And we need the flight number. We're going to kind of borrow this one, which is 2580. 2580 UA. So back on over to PFPX, UAL from KSFO to what? Oh, here we go. 2580. That's better. KSFO to KATL. There's my takeoff runway, runway 19 right. I would need to check that and make sure that runway's actually in use, and landing runway 10, and again, make sure that's in use. The aircraft we're going to use is the one we just added, that one. There it is. Pratt & Whitney engines, fabulous, fabulous. Tend to go with a random payload because most pilots don't know the payload until they turn up for the job that day. Fuel, we're not doing EU ops, so it's going to be, let's go US domestic. Great, we're going to add 30 minutes of extra time, and we're going to add 30 minutes of hold time just in case. Costs not really available, so we'll ignore that, and now we will find a route. Now I could paste in the route, but we're going to a different location. You can see over here on the map. Maybe try and make this map a little bit larger for you. Savannah, Georgia is over here. So yeah, over here, and we're going to there. So we're not doing exactly the route that we have on FlightAware, but if you wanted to, you could take that route in FlightAware. I'll show you where that is. Down here, there's the route. You can take that and drop that in and use that. But I'm not going to go to Savannah, I'm going to go to Atlanta because I'm fairly sure I have some nice scenery for Atlanta. So back over to PFPX, which I have now lost completely. There it is. Weird icon for PFPX. We'll tell it to find the route. Done. So I can drag this map around now. Look at that. That's a long route. Great. Estimated en route time, 5 hours. We will be using time acceleration, obviously. Alternates required. We're going to require 2. And let's go ahead and find this one. Now, there is a way of just making it say, give me one. I don't really want to go through all of this. Please just work. You going to do this for me? Oh, up here, find destination alternates. There. Click on that one, click on that one. 7GA7, I don't know what that is. It's a private airport. With a 900-meter runway. No. But we've got some alternates. KFTY is going to be the main one we're going to be using here. And that's got some proper runways. And that's just fine. Okay, so we'll take those. What else can we do here? Compute a flight at this point, so no, let's just make sure we're all in here. Everything's good, everything's lovely. Flight crew, Peter Wright, good. Compute the flight. Well, actually, that was a bad idea. Let's go back up into our flight aircraft database because I did screw up a little bit here. We'll, whoa, what are you doing? What? Edit my aircraft. Here's my aircraft. We want to add in some TopCat modules here. So the performance module for TopCat, click on edit. Hopefully this loads up without any issue. I did miss this. This is a 747-400 with Pratt & Whitney 4056 engines. Apply. And save aircraft. Good. So now we should be able to say compute the flight. Let's figure out what do I have a warning for? Warnings. What is the warning? No, I want to view the warnings. Altitude at 4,000 is below the grid. Okay, that's completely fine. We can manage that actually in the aircraft. So now we're going to figure out the takeoff performance here. So calculate we're going to be doing a flaps 20 takeoff. Thrust configuration is optimum. Calculate. There we are. So it's going to give us a derated takeoff, just derated takeoff there, full thrust 12 degrees C, but we're going to use that one, derated takeoff 53 degrees C as an assumed temperature. So append that. And then apply that. Good. And we'll figure out the landing. Now, clicking on landing, it will be a flaps 30 landing. Yes, landing mode will be manual. Anti-ice will be off. Calculate. Append. And apply. Good. So now we should be able to update performance data, which are all done. And I can release the flight. Yes, we know. Continue. So the flight's released now, and at this point I can export it. So I'm going to click on export, and we'll scroll down here and make sure that everything's selected. Yes, it is. So save. 4 errors occurred. Yes, because I don't have the NGX installed, so that's completely fine. We'll get rid of this one, get rid of this one, get rid of this one. I don't have FSX versions of this stuff installed. Make sure that saves without errors. It did. So that's done. And then finally, we will print the flight plan. Now I'm going to print to I normally have Bullzip, which is a free PDF printer installed. Today I don't, so I'm going to print to Adobe PDF. And print, please work. Where do you want to save? We'll put this onto my desktop for the time being. Up here, there we go, save. And Adobe PDF's creator will fire up, and then the PDF reader will fire up, and here is my flight plan. So if we zoom out a little bit. Thank you, thank you. Zoom, zoom, zoom. There we go. Fabulous stuff. So that's typically how I come up with what I'm going to do for a fully loaded flight. So now it's over to the sim to install all the add-on sceneries, tweak it, make it look pretty, and away we go. I know many of you are familiar with this. I just thought it would be a neat thing to do for once. It is a Froogle Vlogs. It's my opportunity to just ramble aimlessly about not much at all. So there you go. That's how I figure out a fully loaded flight. Now I have to go and practice this relentlessly and try to get everything as right as I possibly can. As always, my name is Froogle. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like this format of the vlog, or if you want to see something more, I don't know, in depth in the vlogs. It's hard for me to put my finger on what a Froogle Vlogs should actually be most of the time. Sometimes it's very obvious as to, okay, this week we should cover that. So let me know in the comment section below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon.